Stories, how you use them.
T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
All right, hello. Here with the familiar board. I appreciate your questions, love your questions. There's actually a question about, hey, in the intro and some of your old stuff, you had your racing shirts. Yeah, those are all my Formula One collection shirts, but new people that would see this, they would say, that's kind of weird, I don't understand it, so we got away from it. But if you want to see them come back, let me know. Maybe I'll do a couple classic case studies and dig into the archive with the F1 shirts, which I always thought was the ultimate in team performance, and that's what I was talking a lot about, small companies' team and performance. But this week, we have a question from you, and I loved it. It was, hey, Amazon does this, Walmart does this, Target does this. They're all competing for consumer basics in the middle, but I've seen some headlines about Target lately. Are they kind of like third place? What's it all about? So guess what? Today, a quick little case study on the current disposition of Target and some of those headlines you've seen. And thank you very much, N. Cummings, whoever N stands for, from Brickham, New Jersey, if I'm pronouncing that right, who seem to think that this is something we should cover. So away we go. So Target. There have been some recent headlines that are out there about the retailer that we all call Target. People were calling it Target to make it seem more foo-foo, or as my daughter likes to say, oh, that's the bougie Target. Oh, what does bougie mean? It's a little bit nicer. Okay, whatever. But there's been some headlines. Let's go see. CNBC, June 24th. Oh my gosh, today. So Target taps Shopify to add sellers to its third-party marketplace. Oh, let's break this down. Target goes to Shopify to add sellers to its third-party marketplace. This is Target Online trying to do the Amazon trick of having more than just Target for sale. Interesting, competing with Amazon head on. Next, Fox Business, Target and Dick's Sporting Goods, and this goes back a couple weeks ago, June 12th, facing pushback from investors for going woke. Whoa, remember where it was Pride Month and then maybe they overdid it a little bit? Not just respecting the different people that are in society, that by law, the Supreme Court, decision gives them the ability to be married, but some of them just thought it went way, way too far, and they got pushback from investors. Then, next, from Reuters, Target to cut LGBTQ Pride Month products from some stores after backlash. So now it's not just, pressure from investors. Now you've got backlash from consumers. Let's keep going. Then Walmart joins Target, Amazon, Walmart in announcing steep summer price cuts. This is the inflation response, and the U.S. consumer was pulled back a little bit on buying in April and May. So all of a sudden, hit the brakes. What could we discount? What could we help the consumer with so they could buy stuff they need? Baby clothes, diapers, whatever it is. And we're going to talk about what Target sells. Then from the Star Tribune, which help me out with this one. I think they're in Minneapolis. Go look that up and tell me if the Star Tribune is in Minneapolis. I think it is. But Pride designers slam Target's plan for their wares because the retailer says it's normal business practice. So these people are upset, and this is the Star Tribune up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where Target is headquartered. Thank you very much to the producer over there who looked that up for me. And they're upset. So in other words, Target was merchandising the Pride stuff in a certain way, and the people that make the Pride stuff didn't like that. Let me tell you something. When a retailer agrees to sell your stuff, you say yes. And when the retailer says, I'm going to market it a little different or this, you just tell them, do you need 40,000 units or you need 30,000 units? If you're telling me you need 40,000 units, give me a minute, I'll make them and I'll be right back. Instead, you had some of the Pride designers were saying, oh, I don't like how you're presenting it. Well, guess what? Pride designers push back for woke, a little bit of backlash from the consumers. So it looks like in the middle of a perfectly good business, there was a little bit of a fumbled opportunity just to present stuff for all people of society. And in the end, you pissed off a whole bunch of people in that society called consumers, spending their hard-earned dollars on your stuff. So those are the headlines. So let's see what's going on. Let's dive in a little bit. So first of all, let's look at the stock. Let's just look what the stock market says. Well, let's go back 5 years. This is a 5-year look back from today's price, actually Friday's price, a week ago, June 21st, that price. And over 5 years, it's up $60 or 68% from where it started here. Let's go see what happened. 2020, we kind of up. In 2021, we go up, 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 up. At the end of 2021, 2022, all of a sudden something happened first quarter, wham! And then we sit here kind of this flat, a little bit of a belly of the beast and back up there. But this is really, you're kind of stuck in this zone here. So in other words, it really hasn't been, you know, if you had held the stock and you went to sleep in a coma back here 5 years ago and you woke up now, $1 would be worth $1.68. You know, so it's like, okay, but certainly not a giant growth story. This isn't NVIDIA. And by the way, whatever happened here at the spike, it's in the wrong place. That spike should have been back here in 2021 when COVID, when everything spiked down, and then things like Peloton and Zoom spiked up, and then Peloton and Zoom spiked down when we went back outside and we were not under lockdown. So the story here, there is a COVID effect, but it's really weird. And there's more of a corporate effect, like what the hell happened Q1 there, and then you ended up flat. So that's what's going on. So you would think that Target would be out there trying to do more, trying to serve the consumer more and better, versus Sam's Club and Walmart, which are alter egos of the same thing, and Amazon. So let's go take a look. So who is Target? I looked it up and I wanted to see who is Target, Target positioning. And I synthesized 9 articles into this. First of all, the analysts basically say it's a poorly run company. That's exactly what I found. Even analysts that had a buy rating were like, management could have been stronger, more on top of it, and done a better job. And they think it's a poorly run company. And they think that, well, they were reactive versus thoughtful about DEI. In other words, they could have done some things with clothing for all people of all persuasions, but they thought they did it kind of poor way. And management, they feel, is left of center, but they think the core consumer is center, maybe a tick to the right. So the company headquartered up in Minneapolis, serving core consumers everywhere, there's a bit of a collision there. Well, that makes sense now. That's why they're in headlines for the wrong reasons. And we found out consumers appreciate Target's selection and pricing. That's what I found out. And I kept finding this same thing, core American consumers, which was not code word for left, right, or center. They're talking about core in the middle. And matter of fact, the description was that the Target shoppers were probably 60% conservative, 40% liberal. Well, it's more of one than the other, but it certainly describes a great big batch of everyone. So, and they say that the locations Target has gives it a market presence, that sometimes their market presence is leading to getting sales and revenue in a local market, not because people loved it and would actually drive farther. If this Target closed, would they drive all the way over to see this Target? Found out that some of them wouldn't. They'd buy from Amazon, they'd buy online, or they'd go somewhere else. That is not people talking about being, I am loyal to Target. Nope, that's not what it sounds like. So there's a real mixed bag here, but there's no big like green light or a flag, and I'm not trying to dump on them. This is what analysts and a lot of broad market articles are saying. So let's take a closer look at what's selling. Now, this is a bit of an eye chart, but let's look at this together. So the blue is beauty and household essentials. The black right here is food and beverages. The gray is home furnishings and decor, drapes, you know, things like that, lamps. The red is apparel and accessories. And the green is hard lines, which would be sporting goods and a lot of other things in that. So let's take a look. So you got 109 billion total, then going to 111 in 18, 146 in 19. Look at that, that's a nice jump. 175 from 19 to 2020 to 237 after COVID, 247, and then back to 213. What happened? It went down. Well, here's hardlines, sporting goods, a lot of outsourced stuff. It gets up to 17, it drops to 16.1, which puts it back in territory from 2020. You go to the red. apparel and accessories. 16.8, a full billion down from here, and puts it back between 20 and 21. Then you go to gray, which was home furnishings and decor. Big drop, taking them all the way back to where they were between, 19 and 20. And then finally here, 18, 20, 22, 23. Wait, something's working. Food and bev. So going down the aisle at Target, where Target is putting more refrigerators in, more food aisles in there, and you can see it. You go in there and that one part of the store keeps expanding. We've seen it. So that's intentional. Then what else is growing? 24, 27, 29, 31. The blue's growing. Beauty and household essentials. Food and beauty are bigger than ever. Well, they've lost ground in home furnishings and decor. They've lost ground in hard lines, and they've lost ground in apparel. Well, a lot of this perhaps is attributed to your buying consumer essentials, and then these, maybe it was because there were some very large boycotts that happened because they handled this DEI thing so poorly. And remember, they were putting certain kinds of clothes and messaging up in the front. What did those reports say? That 60% of the consumer is a little bit right of center, 40% of the consumer a little bit left of center. Guess what? 60% of the people, a good percent of them were offended and troubled by what you were putting out front, where it wasn't just DEI and it wasn't just clothing for everyone, it was the trans message that went with it, and that really bit Target. So that's what's happened. And that's also, guess what? In this market, the CEO has to be a leader, a person to kind of walk you through the jungle of life, and that's why some of the analysts feel that they're a poorly run company. Next, what do? Well, here's what I found, is that for Target to do well, number one, they have to advance in the e-commerce war. They're lagging the wider industry, and obviously what they're trying to do is partner with Shopify so they could have more third parties selling stuff online at Target.com. Some will come from third parties, some will come from Target. Does that sound like Amazon? It should. Check. Next, they have to address the mixed consumer feelings. Their headquarters is in a very blue state, and the core customer is everywhere. Lastly, they need to focus on which lines of business, because we just looked at the variability for the different product lines, and so that food and beauty are actually up. So maybe they're competing very well with Ultra and regular grocery stores, but everything else are kind of getting squeezed, like with Etsy and the other things selling basic home furnishings and IKEA. So focus on which lines of business and really get that. And it appears to be that focus is something that Target has to do across product lines. I read analyst reports on that saying, are you going to be number 2 in beauty? You're going to be number 2 in grocery. What are you going to be? Can you beat Etsy? Can you beat IKEA? Then should home furnishings be that much of what you do, or should you use the store space for more offerings of things that are selling? This is the very real and fair questions about focus that analysts are asking Target management. So that's along the lines of what's next, because you can't be the everything store. You want to know why? That's this guy, The Everything Store. And it was a book that wrote about how they became the everything store. Maybe they're trying to do it, getting Shopify to help them build up the offering with third-party stores. Perhaps that's the way to do it. That's what they're thinking. I hope that explains what's going on with Target based on some of the recent headlines and looking a little bit of history and looking at the stock and how it came together. If you like that one, here's 2 more from the Biz Doc archive so that you can learn some things, apply them to your life and business. And as I like to say, I hope I, Tom Ellsworth, the Biz Doc, left you better than I found you.